All right, good afternoon, everybody. We want to welcome you to this year's NIU Winter Sports Media Day. I'm Mike Hossie, Associate Strategic Communications Director, Women's Basketball Contact, and play-by-play voice of NIU Women's Basketball on the radio for my third season. Our Winter Sports tenants here at the Convo are gearing up for their seasons. That all start in the coming weeks. Today, we'll have each of our head coaches for wrestling, gymnastics, and men's and women's basketball give a preview of their teams, and they'll take some of your questions. Without further ado, we'll start with NIU Wrestling. Head coach Ryan Ludwig is in his 15th season at the helm of the program. NIU returns all three of its NCAA qualifiers from last season, including Blake West, who won the MAC title at 125 pounds. Huskies take the mat for their red-black inter-squad duels this coming Thursday, October 30th at 7 o'clock down in Victor E. Ryan Ludwig.
Thanks, everyone, for coming out today. Just to get things started here, practice thus far has been going incredibly well. Preseason flew by, lots of runs, lifts, drills, just getting these guys in shape, getting them lean, getting them back with their feet underneath them and their stance work. So a lot of tedious work, but the attitude has been great. They really took to it, so we're feeling like we're in really good shape right now. The biggest thing for us, I think, is the peer leadership from some of our seniors in Blake West, Spencer Mooberry, Devin Dawson, among others. So it's really just a trickle down with the way those guys work and handle their business. That focus, that determination for extra workouts has really trickled down to the young guys, and we have an extremely positive culture in there right now. So everybody's getting exponentially better every week. October, I can't believe we're here already, but it's flying by. It's been incredibly busy. We had a family tailgate for homecoming weekend here, so we got to see all the families, show them around, and they got to meet each other, so establish some bonds there. And then just this last week, we hosted our season kickoff event. So we generated excitement for the upcoming season, generated funds for our team, and hosted that out in Sycamore. Very well-attended event. So, and we get through this week. Next week, we're in wrestle-offs. So season is here. It's crazy. So we start with our wrestle-off process next Tuesday. We'll have preliminary matches in the room, and then we'll finish up on Thursday evening here in the Convo at 7 p.m. So we call that the red-black scrimmage event, where we take our two finalists from the on-roster matches. So, 125 will have two matches, 133 will have two guys wrestling. So we'll try to find our top 10 guys from that event. And it's a great way to come on out and get to know the team a little bit and see these guys compete against each other. And that'll be fun. But to be really honest with you guys, it's more about, we want to see who wins those matches, but we really want to have some prep. We want to see how we can manage our warm-ups, what we're going to put back into our bodies after we cut weight. What does our warm-up routine look like? So it's more of a match simulation event so that we can be fully prepared when we head out to our first event the next week, which is the Michigan State Open. So we'll see all kinds of nationally ranked competition out there. And then we'll come back and we'll have three duels out at Purdue. We'll wrestle Purdue, American University, and Buffalo. And then we'll finish off before Thanksgiving with a dual meet out at Bellarmine in Kentucky. Have Thanksgiving break, and then we're going to come out. We're going to do something new this year. We're going to head out to the Cliff Keen Las Vegas Tournament Championship, and that's the premier event in the country, so we're hoping some of our highly ranked individuals can have a good performance there and pave their way to the national tournament. After that event, we will have our first home meet, and that's December 19th here with Oregon State. So that should be a great event. That's 7 p.m. at home. We hope everyone can make it out to that. After Christmas, we come back. It's Midlands time. We'll take 20 wrestlers out there. Great event for us. It's only about an hour up the road. We're having it back at Northwestern this year, so that'll be getting back to basics and getting back to a more traditional event. And then after that, something new again, we're going to head out to the National Dual Championship in Iowa. So that's going to be probably 2 or 3 dual meets of premier teams across the country. That's invite only, so we're honored to get an invite to that. And we accepted eagerly. We'll await to see what our opponents look like based on the results thus far in the first semester. After that event, we come back, have Central Michigan, and then a duel with Ohio and Kent. We'll head out to Lock Haven for a duel, head out to Buffalo, head out to Northwestern, and then finish at home with Southern Illinois University Edwardsville, and that'll be a Beauty and the Beast event with gymnastics, which everyone loves to come on out and see, so we're excited about that. We thank Nita for setting that up as well. And again, our journey, obviously, we want to make sure that we really, grab a hold of something big here in the MAC championship with our last year in that tournament. The guys are fired up to really take charge and leave their legacy on that event this year. So we're excited about that from a team perspective, and also excited about the prospect of heading into the new conference next year. But for right now, our focus is on this year, all MAC based, and everyone's got their sights set on that. Outside of that, the vibe again has been great. Recruiting is going well. Training is going well. Everybody's very excited to get their hands on someone else, like I said before. So without further ado, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Coach, you bring back all three of your NCAA qualifiers from last season. Just what does it mean to have all three of those guys back in the room, especially for a program that's been able to send guys to NCAAs consistently?
Yeah, that's really, that's our main goal, right, is to do damage at the NCAA tournament. We want to place guys on the podium on Saturday. So, again, Blake, he's been there twice, had a great performance last year, was 2-2, was a takedown away from what I consider him being on the All-American podium. So he is right there. I think that's incredible for us. I think Markel Baker as an alternate, that only got him more hungry. He is looking incredible in the room right now. So, in my opinion, he's poised for a great season. Landon Johnson, again, was just really starting to figure things out on the back half of the year last year, so his potential is through the roof. And then, we forget about 2 years ago, Jacob Bry qualified as well. And he's moving up into 149, which I think will be great for him from a health perspective, from having a full gas tank in a 7-minute match perspective, and he's been looking great in the room as well. And I got to tell you, there's a few others in there that I'm really excited about. Some newcomers, some guys that have developed that I think can do some damage in the postseason.
And you talk about those newcomers. Obviously, you bring some freshmen transfers. Just who's stood out to you for the offseason?
Yeah, you got to look at Deuce Curtis, at 141. He won the Michigan State Open last year, beat a very highly touted recruit from Oklahoma State in the finals, so he's looking really good right now. I think this transfer we got from Oklahoma State, he's actually a Belvedere North guy originally named Colin Young. He's looking really tough in there right now. He's a newcomer at 165. And then you got Spencer Mewberry, who had a strong start for us last year, but then was injured. He's back at 197, looking healthy. And then Devin Dawson, coming off of an injury last year. He was in redshirt, and he's coming into his senior year heavyweight. So we've got a lot of new faces in there that are very talented individuals, so it should be an exciting dual meet lineup.
You talk about Devin Dawson. I'm looking at Landon Johnson. Both guys are from North Dakota State. Just what's been the key to getting these guys, especially from a school like that?
Yeah, and Spencer Mewberry and Coach Midkiff. They all came down from Fargo. So I don't know. Honestly, it was just one thing. It started with Spencer Mewberry. He transferred down here, and a couple of those other guys were looking for a new experience as well. And they decided to come be a Husky, and it's been an outstanding fit all the way around since they moved down here. So couldn't be happier with all four, especially Coach Midkiff and then the three competitors. They've all gelled really well with our culture here.
Coach, you mentioned that national duels is invite only. What does this say now about the state of NIU wrestling that you can get into a tournament like that, or even the one in Vegas as well?
Yeah, it's an honor, right? It says a lot about what these guys are doing, how they're training, and the expectations they have for themselves. So is it a bigger challenge? Absolutely, and that's exactly what we want to look for. We want to grow every year. We want to, again, have a higher seed at the national tournament and ultimately get on that podium and to the very top step. So the bigger the challenge, we want to run to it. Thanks.
All right. We'll continue with gymnastics head coach Nita T. She's an NIU Athletics Hall of Famer. She's in her second season as head coach of NIU Gymnastics. The Huskies also return an NCAA qualifier from last season in senior Kira O'Shea. Here's Coach Nita T.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here to talk about NIU Gymnastics. This year we have 20 athletes on our team. 12 of them are returners, and we have 8 new team members this year. 7 of them are freshmen, and 1 of them are a transfer. We're super excited about the talent that we've brought in this year. We've recruited a really good, talented group of girls from all over the country. Our returners are doing a great job of leading these newcomers into our culture and the expectations that we have set. Be on the lookout for strong performances from Kira O'Shea, as he just mentioned. She's a former MAC champ on vault and has qualified for postseason in the past 2 years. Also expect to have impact from our other seniors, Jocelyn Harback and Samantha Nickel. We recruited a transfer this year, and she's a junior. Her name is Ashley League. She comes to us from Washington State. Last season, she placed first in Division III bars, and so she's a beautiful bar swinger, and we're really expecting her to make a big impact in our bar lineup. We are also counting on performances from our other juniors, Michaela Brown, Bella Ross, and Dawson Salee. Last year, these three ladies filled 100 of our lineup spots. So we're really counting on them to pull a bulk of our routines. Our sophomores will also be filling significant roles this year. Drake White comes off a solid freshman year where she had national qualifying scores of 9.7 and above on both floor and vault. Audrey Brenner is also coming off a good freshman year where she had a qualifying score of over 9.7. Katie Ferguson is a returner on bars, and she was our bar anchor last year. And I'm extremely excited to introduce you to our new team members that we have. Desiree Boykin is coming to us from Nevada, where she finished her club career in the top 20 at nationals. We expect her to be doing all around for us. Elizabeth Ponson and Avery Riff both come to us from the United Gymnastics Academy in Frankfort, Illinois. Both of these young ladies should be making impact in our bar lineup. Samantha Bartlett comes to us from Massachusetts. She's a beautiful beam worker and has placed as high as 4th at nationals on beam. Alana Wallace is a super powerful athlete that comes to us from Texas, and we expect she'll be an immediate impact on floor and vault. Rounding out our freshmen, we have Savannah Navarro, who comes to us from Indiana, from JPAC, and McKenna Brooks, no relation, JC. She comes to us from Cocomotion in Indiana, where in '24 she won the NGA National Championships. This is a quick introduction to our team, and we're excited to see what this group can do during this last year of our MAC conference. We are heading into, we've already started doing verifications. That's when they show our routines and what we have. We're doing our second verification tomorrow, along with family weekend. So we're probably gonna have close to 50 parents in, so we're inviting them into the gym to come in and watch. It adds a little pressure to our girls and helps get them prepared for season. That's it. Do we have any questions?
So, Coach, I know you've been around this program for quite some time now, but this is now your second year as head coach. You've now had the interim tag removed. Just how do you feel going into the year 2 for you?
I feel great. I feel a lot more settled this year than I did last year. I think everybody's adapted to what's going on, and we're just hitting the ground running.
And are there any events on this team that you think are going to be more of the strong point this season, as far as events go?
It's hard to say. I feel like we're pretty equally rounded on all events, so it's like it's always a matter of keeping everybody healthy, right? Yep.
And then, just to ask about all-arounders, is there anyone on this team that you think is suited to, go for all 4 events?
Yeah, I think Desiree, our new freshman athlete from Nevada, Desiree Boykin, who finished in the top 20 in nationals in May, she can definitely make a run for all around. We have a lot of people who train all around, but it's pretty competitive to make the events, so. Good. You're welcome.
All right, now it's time to talk some buckets. Next coach to come up to the podium is men's basketball head coach Prashant Burno. Coach Burno's in his 5th season here at NIU. Huskies will host Quincy in exhibition play Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. They open the regular season at the Convo against ULM in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge on Monday, November 3rd. Coach Burno.
First off, thank you guys for coming. As we enter into the season, I want to address just the roster. We're coming off a really good summer. With 15 new guys, we had to figure out how can we get these guys on the same page. So we were really intentional on developing on and off the court, the brotherhood that's needed in order to compete in the MAC. And so we really did a good job of making sure that we got the time on and off the court that made sense for us. We're highlighted by some really talented guys. We went an international route with some of the roster building, but some of the highlight guys who are from this area, we have J.J. Taylor, who's a Chicago guy. He was rated one of the top players coming out of high school. We got him transferring in from UCF. Then we also brought in a really good guard by the name of Gianni Cobb, from a local guy from Chicago by the way of Columbia, who I think is going to bring a really intense, fun style of play for us at the point guard spot. And then we rounded out with some international guys. We have a kid by the name of Dylan Guzman, who's really, really talented, played for the Swiss national team, played on a qualifying team where he averaged about 10 and 5. And then obviously we brought in some other size with our big guys. We needed to really do a better job of what we did in the year past by having guys that can physically go out and compete at this level. And I thought we did a really good job. One, we brought in a kid, Gustav, from Netherlands, who's about 6'9", 6'10", with good length, good size, and mobility. And I think he's going to be a added bonus for, especially where, and more importantly, how we're going to play. Our style of play going into this year, because we have depth along the front line and then also in our guard play, you're going to see us play about an 80 possession game. That's the goal, where we can get out and run and use our size and quickness to do a good job of really trying to put points on the board. And so this roster process was something that we had to take full account, coming off the last 2 years where we were in the injury-plagued season. We had to do a couple things different. One, we had to assess what are we doing in regards to training, because that's very, very important. And so what we did was we went with the trainers and the strength and conditioning coach, and we tried to figure out why are we getting injured, right? What are we doing as far as duration of practices? What are we doing in regards to recovery? And then before we got the guys back to campus in June, we set out a really thorough plan on, all right, how do we maximize what we have, but also give these guys the time and energy and the resources to really rehydrate, refocus, and be able to start over the next day. So I thought we had a diligent plan going into the summer, and it boded well where we had, knock on wood, no injuries, where guys got a lot of time to gel, mesh, and really spend the meaningful time in the court versus in the training room. And the same thing took place in the fall, going into preseason. But I think this roster is probably the best constructed roster since I've been here in regards to depth, size, and skill set. Now it's just a matter of continue to do what we need to do in the weight room, do what we need to do in the training room, so we can be really, really at our best on Tuesdays and Saturdays as we gear towards trying to make it to Cleveland. We have some really good talent in regards to shooting the ball with Makai Valentine, who I think is going to be a 40% three-point shooter. He has great length, size, and athleticism, but he's probably one of the best shooters I've had here, along with Dylan, who's a prolific shooter from three. So we have two bookends. Now we just got to make sure with J.J. Taylor, who's kind of a unicorn for us in regards to his overall skill set. He has length, he has size, and he's really a guard masquerading as a four-man. So we have what we need in regards to talent. Now it's just a matter of, can we make it mesh? The schedule that we put together is super competitive. We did a really good job of getting a lot of in-state opportunities, whether it's against Loyola, Chicago, or Bradley. Obviously, the top echelons of those respective leads, so we're going to be challenged. And then obviously playing some national teams like a Wisconsin at Wisconsin, that's going to give us a really competitive on-the-road environment, no different than playing at Toledo or Akron or Kent State, some of the better teams in this league. So we were diligent and intentional on how we built the non-conference schedule to get us ready for December, which is a lot earlier than years past, where we now normally play conference games in January. We're now playing in December. So we just got to continue to stay healthy. Like I said, I like our depth. The guy who I'm truly intrigued by is Lodgy, who's a 6'5" wingman out of way of France with a 7-foot wingspan. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be electric in transition because of his athleticism, his length. He's going to be a difference maker for us. He's still young as a freshman, but he has a lot of experience playing on the international side. So he's going to be a really good player. We also have another freshman, Taj Walters, who's probably about a 6'6" multi-unit guard who can play 3, 4, strong enough, athletic enough to be a difference maker, especially in the MAC when you see the four-man who are typically like a Kent State. He looks like one of those guys who can play multiple positions. So I'm intrigued by the roster. I think we're going to be really good. Knock on wood, we just got to stay healthy. With that being said, I'll open up for any questions.
Coach, I know this wasn't the first offseason where you've had to essentially start from the ground up as far as roster building goes. But this most recent time, you've had to re-race everybody. Just how do you approach that part, especially considering that you have to go from zero there?
Well, this one was one of those situations where instead of just going out to get players, we needed to go out and get what makes sense to us, right? And we needed to listen to the training staff, right? We needed to get bigger, faster, stronger. We needed to get durable athletes, right? And so I used that information to go out specifically to get the right type of player. This league is a grueling league, right? A lot of times you're getting worn down. You're playing twice a week, and you may play Kent State and Toledo, the top echelon. So we needed to get talent, and we needed to get athletes who can compete at that level. And so we really was intentional with every guy that we brought in, from the guards, outside of Gianni, who's a 6-foot guard. Everyone else is 6'2" and above. So we have size, and all these guys bring multiple skill levels to the table. So I wanted to make sure that we got versatility, size, and strength, and still have the ability to play fast. And I think with this roster from top to finish, top to bottom, we have athleticism and speed that can compete in the MAC.
And you talk about the steps you guys have taken to, limit injuries, make sure you guys are actually available to play. But when you look at the newcomers you brought in, just how'd you feel about their ability to, stay healthy from their past at their respective schools?
Well, once again, in the off season, two things I think it has to happen, whether they're transfers, whether they're high school guys. I think the component that we missed my first couple of years was from the education side, right? Because in reality, these guys are going to spend more time away from us than they are with us, right? We got 20 hours a week. That's for Courtney. That's 20 hours a week compliance, right, to practice. And so we really spent a lot of time with our strength and conditioning coach to educate these guys, because when they're home and they're respective away from us, they got to get their rest. They got to make sure they hydrate. They got to make sure they're putting the right fuel into their bodies, because it's counterproductive. When we're training, we're playing hard, and then you go out and eat junk food, or you're not getting the proper rest. So we really wanted to educate these guys on the importance of doing these things. So on Tuesdays and Saturdays, we're performing at our optimum.
Now that you've been through a summer with these guys now all together, does anything change for you in terms of, now that you've seen them on the floor, what you can do with them, either offensively or defensively, now that you've seen them actually now in person?
Yeah, I think we're way more athletic than I thought. Certain guys, like a guy like Damar Kelly, who's a transfer, who actually played in the NCAA tournament last year, 6'5", averaged about 8 points at St. Francis. I didn't realize how athletic he was and his ability to be a quick twitch athlete. So he gives us another dimension, because he can play some 2, some 3, some 4 if we decided to play small ball. JJ can, obviously he's not strong in girth, but he's long and athletic. We can play small ball 5. So I think with the roster, with the way it's constructed, on paper you like it, and then you see it, they'll give us a lot more versatility than I expected with some of these guys. Obviously, Laji being a guy who, yet again, he's a guard, but he can play the 4 at 6'5" with a 7-foot wingspan.
Coach, talk about the transition. You mentioned the international players. They played at a high level, played well. How tough is it, that transition from that first year, playing over there, to coming and playing D1 basketball?
Yeah, it's always tough, no matter how good they are, right? It's a cultural transition that takes a toll. It's the academic transition that takes a toll. And so the beauty of having a Laji, a Goose, and a Dylan, they don't have to be Superman early, right? We have enough talent, enough experience around them so they can grow into the position, versus now putting a ton of pressure on a guy like Laji. As good as he is, he's still a freshman. There's a language barrier, right? There's a food barrier. All these things play a part into these guys being ready to perform every day. But more importantly, they have their own expectations. A lot of these guys are leaving home for the first time, right? And they have high expectations of themselves. And so not allowing themselves to put too much pressure is important. And also from a coaching staff, I got to meet these guys where they are in that moment. I can't project my expectations onto them. So now it becomes overwhelming.
If you take the first game on the 3rd until the MAC schedule, how much transition you think there'll be in regards to how you develop the roster and people fulfill their roles, and even roles changing?
Yeah, I think how we practice is going to be conducive to how we're playing. Right now, we're going to have 11 guys on paper that can play. I can play up to no more than, I don't think a guy would exceed 25 minutes. And so because we have depth, our goal is to wear teams down going into the second half. So we really want to play fast. We really want to be the 80 to 85 possessions per game, which allows us to really use our depth. But practice is super competitive. We're averaging right around that when we do go live. Right, we're on pace to meet our goal in regards to, possessions per game. The things that we have to continue to work on is valuing the ball and rebounding. If we can rebound with the way we get out and run with our athletes, we can play in transition a lot, and that's ultimately the goal, right? The flip side is we want to play teams in a half court, use our speed and our versatility to be disruptive, to create turnovers for us. So I think we can get, with the depth we have, we can probably play 10 to 11 guys. No guy is going to exceed 25, 27 minutes.
And Coach, with all the new players you have on this roster, who do you go to as far as leadership on the roster goes?
It's a multitude of guys. We have Jao, who is a 9-point scorer out of way of Jackson State, who made it to the NIT, won a game against Georgia Tech. He's another a guy who had Big East, West Virginia, was Big 12 experience, right? So I think it's a multitude of guys, and I want, everybody to be a leader in their respective spaces, because when it becomes one guy, right, then I think you're letting the other guys off the hook. Everyone that steps on the floor has to bring something to the table to help us be a better program. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll wrap up today with the newest head coach in the athletics department. J.C. Brooks was named the 11th head coach in NIU women's basketball history back on April 1st. Coach Brooks comes to DeKalb after 2 seasons as the associate head coach at Buffalo, helping guide the Bulls to a WNIT championship last year. She had a 79-32 record in 4 seasons at SUNY Cortland, led the Red Dragons to the NCAA tournament twice. Yes, I wanted to say Red Dragons on purpose. The Huskies host Benedictine next Wednesday, October 29th, 6 o'clock here at the Convo. We open the year on the road at Southern Miss on November 3rd, and the home opener 2 weeks from today, November 7th, against future Horizon League rival Milwaukee. Head coach J.C. Brooks, NIU women's basketball.
All righty, happy Friday. It's hard to believe that, over 6 months ago I was standing up here in that press conference, that it's October 24th and we're getting ready to open up our season in 10 days. It's actually bizarre to think about, but with that being said, thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it. Just as kind of the season has come along, we officially started practice 5 weeks ago, and I think the team has shown great progression within those 5 weeks, getting better each and every day. That has been our mindset, especially having so many new people within our program, right? 6 returners, 5 transfers, and 4 freshmen. So no matter what year they are, right, how long they've been here, our staff, everybody is learning something new, and it's not just the X's and O's, the offense, the defense, it's standards, it's expectations that we have to teach, right? It's leadership. When you look at the roster as a whole, there hasn't been a ton of Division I college basketball playing experience. So getting them to have some confidence, right? Getting them in different positions to be successful so they turn into that confidence. I love our roster within the fact of having some returners, having the transfers, having the freshmen, is we're all pretty versatile, right? We have some post players that can score from the perimeter, that can score in the paint. We have some guards who can push tempo, who also have the ability to score inside along with making threes. We would love to be able to push tempo and go in transition a ton. However, with our depth right now, I have to be strategic with that. I'm looking to play probably 8 or 9 right now. So making sure that we have the endurance to be able to play in transition, yet still being able to put our best effort on the defensive end of the floor. You're going to see a team that's going to play hard, right? Day in and day out. We're going to try to set the tone, especially on that defensive end of the floor. We're going to be a little scrappy, right? We're going to be strategic in how we defend opponents, so they can't just prep for a basic man or a basic zone. We got to really use our brains as a staff, and like I said, try to be strategic so we can help set these kids up to be successful on both ends of the floor. But offensively, you're going to see a team who they're going to work together. We always talk about creating the best shot for our team, right? Somebody's best shot is not going to be the best shot for your teammate. Putting your teammate in position to be successful is one of our focus points, and they've been embracing that. They've been really, really good doing that. And actually, last night we had our first scrimmage, so to finally go against another team and see some success offensively and defensively, because as you all know, practicing against each other for 5 weeks gets a little monotonous, right? And you can start to cheat things and take things away. So to be able to have them see that success last night, and we could see success as coaches with different lineups as we prepare next week for our exhibition game, and then at Southern Miss on the 3rd. Non-conference schedule as a whole, I'm excited about. I think we have a lot of regional opponents that should be very competitive right off the jump. Opening up here in the Combo Center on November 7th, like Mike had said, versus our future Horizon League opponent in Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Really excited just to kind of see where we stand up versus them, and then we host Western Illinois. Then we're playing a little other local with at Southern Illinois, Edwardsville. We'll go on the road a little bit for Evansville and Indiana State, be able to play home versus Chicago State. We're at UIC. But we're gonna take it game by game, as much as I love to look in the non-conference and look at the conference, right? We look at the practice ahead of us, we'll look at the game ahead of us, but can continue to look to get to better by 1% every day. So our ultimate goal of playing the best basketball that we can be playing is in March, right? We're not talking about what our record's gonna be, what it's like to win a championship. Our goal is to play the best basketball in March once we get there. With that being said, any questions?
Coach, I know you mentioned how 6 months ago, just 6 months ago, you were setting up their introductory presser. Now you're half a year into the role. Just how's it felt, transitioning to the new job?
Yeah. I would be lying if I didn't say it hasn't been a whirlwind, right? It's been very, very busy, but I think that goes to show how fast it's went. Like, it's been a grind, but I love it, right? I'm surrounded by really, really good people in my staff and all my players, so it's been fun, right? And I will tell you, last night to have that scrimmage and see us go against somebody else and have success was really encouraging. I probably got the best sleep I've gotten last night than I have in the last 2 months, but I'm excited. So it's been a whirlwind, but it is what it is. I love it. Like I said, the people that I'm around are making it, but we'll continue to progress. We're really hitting the recruiting trail hard, right? To graduate our seniors that we have and be able to get some more players in here that are ready to have this success as we build this program back up.
And you mentioned the recruiting, and obviously, you've had to bring in players of your own as you build this new team. Just who stood out to you from who you've brought in so far?
Yeah, I think our transfers have stood out the most, and the three that I really want to highlight would be our point guard and Keika Lassen, a grad transfer from St. Bonaventure. She's going to have the basketball a lot in her hands offensively, but defensively, she sets the tone for us, okay? She can make things happen, whether it's pressuring the ball, whether it's reading passing lanes. So she's been fantastic. And then two post players that we have, Nevaeh Wingate, she'll be a junior transfer from St. John's. And, I've had the pleasure of coaching Nevaeh in AAU, and that's how we developed this relationship, and actually probably how I got her out here to DeKalb from St. John's. But she's done a great job for us, both in the paint. She's very physical, right? She's quick enough where she can guard post players in the paint and on the perimeter. And she can score in multiple dimensions as well. Lastly would be our senior transfer, another post player, Teresa Mbemba. Okay, she came in from Presbyterian. She's a phenomenal athlete. Her body, she's long and lanky, the way she runs the floor, but similar to Nevaeh, she can guard on the perimeter, right? So that's going to be able to be strategic, on the defensive end of when we're switching ball screens, because we have post players that can defend on the perimeter. So really excited about those three. And our last one would be Lexi Kirsten. She's a local kid out of Chicago. She spent her first 2 seasons at Vermont. She's going to come in and just be a steady Eddie for us. But same thing, able to defend, which, as you can see, a common denominator, right? Talking a lot about defense, but really excited about those as a unit.
And what's it like to have a player like Alicia Doyle back for this team?
Yeah, Alicia, obviously her basketball skill set is phenomenal and really excited. Last year when you look at the team, she played the most minutes on that roster, and they had a lot of talent. And so she played a lot of minutes. She can score in multiple ways. But I think the best thing about Alicia right now is her leadership. Okay, she's been able to lead by example over the summer, and now it's using her voice, and she unfortunately has suffered an injury, so she is day by day at the moment. But I think her seeing the game in a different way of not being out on the court has been really good for her, and I think that's going to really can help her grow as she progresses.
I think you did point out what we were all thinking. You were mentioning people who can defend a lot. For your first year for putting this team together, is that the one thing that, it's not the easiest thing to pick up, but is it the one thing that if this team does that consistently, you'll be in more games than not?
100%. And I am a firm believer, right? Like when you're in a game and you're always focusing on defense, right? When you have that game where your offense is clicking and your defense is at the standard, right? You're going to probably have a lot of success. You're going to have those nights where maybe your offense isn't clicking, but if you're still able to defend, you're still going to have a chance. Okay? So my team knows we have standards, we have non-negotiables, and they've really bought into that, right? They compete in practice each day to get each other better within that. But that is my one standard. We got to be able to defend, and I'll play people who can defend first and foremost, and then we'll go see what we can do on the offensive end.
You mentioned building the confidence of your players. How have you seen that confidence or that mental growth kind of, grow since they stepped on campus to where they are today?
Yeah, I think it's grown tremendously, and I'll give a lot of credit to my assistants who work really close with all of our players. Whether that's spending time with them on the court, maybe working at things that they've been struggling with, or maybe continuing to work things that they're really good at. Whether that's watching film with them, helping to get them better, but always building, being in their ear and helping build that. But like I said, last night was a really good opportunity for us to see that confidence grow because things worked. Right? Things worked. But we'll continue to do that. There are some players that, as you go through the season, it's going to be a roller coaster, and my motto here, never get too high, never get too low. We're going to be here, but I'll continue to put that confidence in them because I know with them not having a ton of experience, that confidence is going to be huge.
Coach, you talk about the returners and the new opportunities here. Talk to me about Maria and Marta and even Reagan. Hopefully Reagan can be out there more. Just opportunities now that they have with the new opportunity, new coach.
Yeah, for sure. That is something that I talked to them, first when I got here in April and meeting as a unit. They had graduated a bunch of seniors, right? A lot of talent, and they may or may not have gotten the minutes that they wanted. And I told them this is a clean slate for everybody, right? And I'm the type of coach, I don't care who you are, if you're a freshman, if you're a transfer, if you're a returner, right? All those minutes have to be earned year in and year out. So they were excited for that. They were excited about that potential opportunity, and they've really stepped up to the occasion with them. And we're going to need them. I know they haven't played a ton of minutes, but that's kind of like we talked about turning that page, the past of the past. This is your role now. And they have stepped up, not just basketball-wise, but in leadership roles as well. Good. Well, thank you all. We'll see you next week or the week after.
All right, again, thanks everybody for coming. And just a reminder, because I forgot to do this at the start, our athletic communication staff is all here today. I work with women's basketball. Jeremy Reed in the back, who is now leading our office, works with men's basketball. Naya Kangas with wrestling, and Dalton Ray with gymnastics. So again, if you need to contact for interview requests and all that stuff, hopefully you took notes during that last 30 seconds. And also thanks to Pat Gorman and his crew for web streaming today's Media Day on YouTube. Go ahead and like and smash that subscribe button if you're watching back at home. Thank you all.